Hey everyone, welcome back to Astrovision 3D. On this channel, I create high-quality 3D printed statues, paint them, and share tips to help you improve your own prints. If you're using the Elegoo Saturn for Ultra and noticing print failures, scratches, or fogging on your FEP sheet, it's time for a replacement. In this video, I'll walk you through how to properly change your FEP sheet, step by step. Let's get started. Before we dive in, here's what you'll need. You'll need a replacement FEP sheet. Elegoo's official ones work best. An Allen wrench set with 3 sizes to 0.0mm, 2.5mm, and 3.0mm. A microfiber cloth or paper towel with isopropyl alcohol for cleaning. And optionally, nitrile gloves to keep your hands clean and avoid fingerprints later on. With your vat cleaned and emptied, let's start by removing the 4 corner screws. Use the correct Allen key size to avoid stripping them. After removing the 4 screws and setting them aside safely, switch to a smaller Allen key to remove the remaining screws, securing the FEP to the vat. I thought I'd outsmart the process by using an electric drill, and to be fair, I managed to remove quite a few screws before realizing it was a bad idea. A drill increases the risk of stripping screws, misaligning the frame, or even damaging the vat, potentially causing it to get stuck together. I really don't recommend using one. Luckily, before I could do any real damage, the battery died, probably for the best. So, like a true craftsman, I grabbed my trusty manual screwdriver and wrapped up the job properly. Alright, now that the screws are out, carefully lift the top frame and remove the old FEP sheet, which is encased in a separate frame. There are still more screws to remove before we can fully replace the sheet. These will require a different sized Allen key, so in total, you'll need 3 different key sizes for this process. These screws are very small, so be careful not to drop them. As you reach this part of the frame, you might also encounter more uncured resin that wasn't cleaned off earlier. Make sure to keep all screws and holes resin-free to prevent issues later on. With the last of the screws removed, you can now separate the frame and properly dispose of the old FEP sheet. Next, clean the frame and vat thoroughly in preparation for the new sheet. From this point forward, it's important to keep everything as resin-free as possible. I spray everything down with isopropyl alcohol, including all the screws, and let them sit for a minute. Then, I pat them dry and ensure everything is completely clean. After this, I usually put on a fresh pair of uncontaminated gloves. You don't want any resin getting on the back of the new FEP sheet. Now that everything is cleaned and prepped, we're ready to install the new FEP sheet in a properly organized workspace. Be careful when removing the FEP sheet from the protective film. I probably could have done a better job keeping it perfectly clean and scratch-free, but thankfully, I use my airbrush occasionally throughout the process to blow off any dust that may have settled on the screen. Take your time aligning the FEP sheet perfectly between the frame, ensuring the excess sticks out evenly around the edges. Once it's positioned correctly and pressed between the metal frame, it's time to start securing it. Start with the smallest screw holes, the ones you removed last. Use a pointy tool to carefully poke holes through the FEP. Then insert and tighten the first screw. Be extra cautious not to shift the frame, or sheet while doing this. Continue this process, staggering the screws as you go until they are all securely in place on this side. You don't have to worry about the FEP sheet being super tight here, because it will naturally tighten in the later stage of assembly. With the first side secured, I use my airbrush to remove any dust that may have settled on the FEP sheet, since it can build up static. This helps ensure a clean and smooth surface before moving on. Now that the FEP sheet is securely in place, let's clean the VAT frame thoroughly before reassembling everything. Carefully place the framed FEP sheet onto the bottom of the VAT. Ensure that the side with the screws we just installed is facing down. Align the open holes with the threaded inserts on the VAT so everything fits securely. Repeat the process. Poke holes through the FEP and secure it to the VAT. Stagger the screws as you install them, tightening gradually to ensure the sheet stretches evenly across the frame. Once everything is secured, go over all the screws again to ensure they are fully tightened, creating a firm and even seal on the VAT. Now for the final corner bolts that help lift the VAT when it sits on the printer's screen. Poke the holes and install the screws in opposite corners. Once they're fully tightened, go over all the visible screws one last time to ensure everything is secure. With the VAT fully reassembled and looking great, grab a hobby knife and carefully trim off the excess FEP sheet around the edges. This step ensures the VAT sits flush on the printer without any obstructions. And with that, you're just about finished. But before we wrap up, I'll walk you through resetting the film release counter on the Saturn IV and share some key maintenance tips to keep your printer running smoothly. This step is optional, but if you have an air can or airbrush, I highly recommend giving the VAT a quick spray to remove any lingering dust before placing it back on the printer and refilling the resin. I also like to spray down the printer's screen to ensure it's completely free of particles, giving my prints the best chance of coming out flawless. With the VAT installed, I take a moment to clean the build plates before reinstalling it. I use this time to make sure every part of my printer is properly maintained, helping prevent errors and reducing the chances of failed prints that waste time and resin. Now, let's refill the VAT. I always use a funnel with a fine filter to catch any clumps, cured resin, or debris, ensuring only clean resin enters the VAT. Before using it, I'll give the funnel a quick clean to make sure it's free of any residue. With the funnel cleaned, we can now pour the resin into the VAT. Be sure to shake the bottle thoroughly to mix the resin before pouring. This bottle runs out midway, so I open a new one and mix it right in. Since it's the same product, it blends seamlessly. Although I've seen other creators experiment with mixing different resins, but I prefer to keep it consistent for predictable results. Now that the printer is fully reassembled, let's run a quick calibration test and reset the FEP sheet usage counter. This helps ensure consistent performance and prompts the printer to notify you when it's time for the next replacement. To do this, go to Tools and select Device Self-Test. The printer will automatically run a calibration test. In the top right corner, you'll see an icon. Click it to reset the FEP sheet usage counter to 0. And with that, We are ready to get back to printing. However, during my calibration test and routine maintenance, I discovered that my LCD screen was malfunctioning, not cracked, but still defective. When I contacted Elegoo, they refused to honor a replacement, despite my screen still being under the 6-month warranty at the time of my initial request. Based on my experience, I'd advise potential buyers to take Elegoo's customer support into consideration, as I found their responses to be slow, inaccurate, and ultimately unhelpful in resolving my issue. As a result, I decided to purchase my replacement screen from Chichu Systems, as they had the best pricing and are a reliable, trustworthy brand. And that's it, your Elegoo Saturn for Ultra is now ready to get back to printing with a fresh FEP sheet. If you found this video helpful, be sure to check out the epic builds on my channel. Hit that like button and subscribe for more 3D printing content. Got any questions? Drop them in the comments, and I'll do my best to help. See you in the next one.